Good day. This video is to help you learn how to use StatKey to find descriptive statistics when you are looking for a relationship between two quantitative variables. So to get started from the main menu here in StatKey, we want to go under Descriptive Statistics and Graphs and click on Two Quantitative Variables. There we have it. Okay, so you can see right away it takes us into a screen where we are looking at the relationship between a president's approval rating and their margin of victory when they run for re-election. So the approval rating is on our x-axis down here, and the margin of victory is on our y-axis over here. When the margin of victory is positive, it means that the president won, and it tells us how many percentage points they won by. When the margin of victory is negative, it means the president lost running for re-election, and it tells us what percentage of the votes the president lost by. We can see it looks like we've got a positive relationship here, which makes sense. The higher a president's approval rating, the more likely they are to be winning re-election by a larger margin of victory. So here is our scatter plot. Now, looking at our summary statistics, they're shown over here. We have, first of all, the means of the approval ratings and the means of the margin of victory. We also have the standard deviation of each variable calculated separately. We have the sample size, which tells us how many elections are in this data set. Next, we have the correlation, which is 0.863. Remember, that measures the strength and the direction of the linear relationship between these two variables. And the fact that it is closer to 1 than it is to 0, much closer in fact, tells us that we've got a pretty strong linear relationship between the two variables. And the fact that it's positive instead of negative tells us that there's a positive relationship between the two variables. As we said before, presidents that have higher approval ratings tend to win by larger margins of error. The next things we see are the slope and the y-intercept for the best fitting line that we could fit to this data. And we can look at what that line would look like on the plot when we click the Show Regression Line box. This is the line that we could use to predict the y variable, which in this case is the margin of victory, based on the x variable, which is the president's approval rating. Now, if instead we knew the president's margin of victory and wanted to try to predict what the approval rating was for that president, we would want to switch which of these variables was our x and which was our y variable. And to do that, we can click the Switch Variables button above the Summary Statistics. Here you'll notice the correlation stayed exactly the same. The strength of the linear relationship between the variables is still the same, but the best fitting line is different. The slope is now 0.891, and the y-intercept is now 46.092. And the line that we have here could be used to predict the president's approval rating based on the margin of victory in the election. Now, if you wanted to use one of the different built-in data sets, many of the ones used in the homework and the textbook are already here. You can come over and click this tab and choose one of the other data sets. But if you wanted to use a data set that is not already built into StatKey, you can do that too. All you have to do is go over and click the Edit Data button. Now, to enter your own data, what's important is that for each case in your data set, you are going to enter the values of your x and y variables, and you're going to put a comma in between them. So I'm going to enter some data for looking at the relationship between the number of people living in a household and the amount of trash in pounds that is out on the curb to be picked up on trash day. I'm going to delete the data that's here. I'm going to put in my header row, just explaining what my variables are, people, and the amount of trash. And then I'm going to enter my data. So I have a household with 2 people and 18 pounds of trash. I have a household with 3 people and 33 pounds of trash. I have a household with 6 people and 91 pounds of trash. I have a household with 1 person and 25 pounds of trash. And finally, I have a household with 7 people and 83 pounds of trash. I click OK. And I can see my scatter plot. Looking over here, the correlation between my 2 variables is 0.949. The regression line that could be used to predict the amount of trash based on the number of people living in a household has a slope of 12.575 and a y-intercept of 2.216. Now again, if instead of trying to predict the amount of trash based on the number of people, I looked at somebody's trash and said, okay, well, based on the amount of trash that they have, how many people do I think might be living in this house? Then I'd want to be predicting the number of people as my y variable based on the amount of trash. So I need to switch, which is my x and y variable. Click here. And now I can see I have a new regression line with a slope of 0.072 and a y-intercept of 0.221 that I could use to predict the number of people living in a house based on the amount of trash that is outside on pickup day. I hope this video helps you get started calculating descriptive statistics to look at the relationship between 2 quantitative variables. Have a great day.